How is everybody? Good. I sense your enthusiasm. It's cold in here, isn't it? Yeah. It's going to warm up. It is. It really is. You know what's a really good way to warm up? Look at this. Look at this. Do you know who that is? That is the cutest dog ever in the world. Wearing his winter finery. Yeah, he's got his winter coat on there. Yeah, that's Yoda. That's our dog. We called Yoda because we were hoping that he would grow up to be a wise little man with big ears. Just like Yoda, you know, like Star Wars, Yoda. Right? Everybody know Yoda? Star Wars? Come on, you have to at least know who it is. Right. Okay. He hasn't yet grown up to be a wise little man with big ears. He has the big ears, but he hasn't got the wise part yet. We're hoping, though. Do you know, there was a guy wrote some poems about cats. Why you'd waste your time writing poems about cats, I don't know. But as it happens, I think it applies to dogs, too. And what he said was, in the very first poem, he said, it was called The Naming of Cats. And he said, cats have 3 names. Cats have an everyday name that you use all the time. And they have a second name that's a really fancy name for special occasions, or when you're mad at them. And a third name that we can't possibly know, and we wouldn't be able to pronounce anyway, because it's the name that only the cat knows. And it's the name that's about what the cat is really all about and who he really is. I think that applies to dogs, too. It absolutely does, right? Yoda's his everyday name. He has a fancy name for special occasions or when we're mad at him. I call him Mr. Yoda Buddy. That's all one word. It's not 3 words. Mr. Yoda Buddy. You say it really fast. Gets his attention. But I bet he has a name, too, that is just his name, that only he knows. I know that because whenever I call him and say Yoda, he just kind of goes and ignores me completely. I think he's thinking about his name. Yeah, just like children, actually. Yes. Exactly. Actually, that's a good point, Ben. Don't you think that could be people, too? People could have 3 names. There'd be the name that people call you all the time, right? And then there's your fancy name, which might be like your full name with like Mr. or Mrs. or Ms. or whatever in front of it. Doctor, whatever, you know. That's a fancy name. But then you'd have a third name that would describe what you're really all about, that only you would know. Well, that only you and God would know, right? Because God really knows you. Right? There's a story, actually we're going to hear a story today, about Jesus meeting Simon, one of the disciples, for the first time. And when he meets Simon, Simon's brother introduces him and says, Jesus, this is Simon. And Jesus goes, I'm going to call you Peter. If you were Simon, what would you do? Wouldn't you go, no, Simon? Because that's what people call me. And I bet what Jesus would have said was, no, I'm going to call you Peter, because Peter means rock. And I think you're really a solid person who's going to be really strong for me. So I'm going to call you Peter. I'm going to call you the rock. I don't think he looked like Dwayne Johnson at all. Thank you for laughing, Elise. I really appreciate that. He was the voice of the God in Moana. Do you know, he's a big guy. You saw Moana? Yeah, he was the voice of the God. Yeah. So, why did Jesus call Peter Peter? I think it's because he knew his third name. I think he knew his third name. I think he knew that that's what Peter was going to be like. And you know what? It turns out that is what Peter was going to be like. So you guys, when you guys go downstairs with Lori, she's got a really awesome story for you. And then you're going to do something about figuring out what your third name, wondering what your third name is. What name might really describe you? And that's the name that you are going to know. You and God are going to know that name. It's not going to be that name that your parents sometimes call you when you misbehave. It's going to be... Elise isn't laughing now. Yeah, no, she's not laughing now. Okay. And so we're going to wonder about that third name. Before we go downstairs, though, we're going to sing a song. Is that okay? We're going to sing that song with the jumping up and down thing, right? Because God is always with us, right? So let's go back and sit with our families, and we'll sing a song.